should be a huge.
Still got a little work.
Okay, we're good. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I sent that actually all your list of questions, ones I couldn't answer, I sent them all to the coach this morning right after you sent that response. So hopefully we should have those answers sooner rather than later. But I was afraid that you were gonna say that it's probably gonna have to be a 1-1 on that one. No, first game's Friday, and so basically it's all prepared for that. It looks like it's gonna have to be the worst too. Yeah. Yeah, and you're gonna have probably a couple more come across your table in that sense. We found a couple other people who we're going through this whole recertification process and doing a lot of stuff, and in that process we found out that there's at least a couple people who practiced or played last year who were certified as eligible, and we're going back and they should never have been eligible. So you're gonna probably get some more of those that are unfortunately 1-for-1. We got a soccer player that I will be sitting to the next couple of days that she just had no clue she was told she was eligible, and as we're going back into the audit, she's not. It's unfortunately probably a 35-year.
I'm pretty sure it was on the call sheet.
Yeah, I remember walking there. So unfortunately, it's a heads up.
Even though it's kind of chicken every time, but it's a different.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Well,
these
the
things, I
one-
mean,
at
they're
least
pretty stable
the
now,
one
but I
that's
just
not
still
talking about that.
falling off, so I rarely leave it. And with this, we don't have a mic sleeve, so I always run a wire over it. There he is. What's happening, Bubba? Same old same.
Oh yeah.
Still up that way? No, I got a house with
Okay. I thought I remembered from talking.
much less expensive than high school.
Oh wow, that's a Hammond High.
Now, I promised him I wouldn't move until he graduated.
Oh, okay.
No, clicks in there. Yeah.
This year,
Seth, what did y'all shoot with?
clear shells.
And you guys need a white balance?
Of mine? Okay. Thanks for the answer. It's right here. Yeah. It's this little deal. You always push up. If you push down, then it kind of messes you up. I always think things look a little bit better with shutter.
If I can have everyone's attention, we're ready to start our first installment of the Dawson Odums weekly press luncheons here on the campus of Southern University. It's exciting times as the 2014 football season is upon us. First and foremost, I'm going to ask all my media folks to please convert your cell phones to the off or silent position so that we don't disrupt the press conference today. Also, today's press conference, as all of our press conferences, is being streamed live on gojagsports.com. For more information and news about Southern University Athletics, that is the official home of Southern University Athletics. This week, the Southern University Jaguars are preparing for its 2014 season opener. They'll be traveling 45 minutes west to Lafayette to take on the UL Ragin Cajuns, New Orleans Bowl champions for 3 years. But before we bring Coach Odums up to the podium, I'd like to introduce our leader and our athletic director, Dr. William Broussard, to share some sentiments going into the first game of the season and the home schedule for 2014. So at this time, Dr. Broussard.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome to members of the media. As always, we are appreciative of you. Mic'd up, sorry. As always, appreciative of all of you for being here. Any others? Appreciate you guys being here, members of the media, for helping us get the word out about Southern University Athletics. Coach Odums will be up shortly to give you a preview of our football game this weekend. But we've kicked off our fall sports season fully with all 5 of our fall sports competing this weekend: men's and women's cross country, volleyball, women's soccer, and football. Women's soccer actually got underway last week with 2 weekend events. They'll play again at home this weekend on Friday versus University of Louisiana Monroe. And our volleyball team will be hitting the road and heading to Alabama for their first competition of the season as well. So excited to welcome all of our student athletes back and begin our fall sports season. One of the bigger highlights, obviously, this weekend is the football team heading to Lafayette. Game we're excited about for a number of reasons, many of which I'm sure Coach Odums will echo. But in-state competition is very important for us for recruiting purposes, and it's obviously a great opportunity for us to engage our fans in the region. One of the most important aspects of our our schedule this year for football is the number of opportunities that our fans will be provided with to support the Jaguars this year. We'll play 6 games at home, which is a rarity in and of itself, and add on to that 1 game where we'll play an hour to the west and another one where we'll play an hour to the east for the Bayou Classic to bookend the season. So 8 opportunities to watch the team play this year in the state of Louisiana. Great opportunities for all of our fans and supporters to see us. Season tickets are still on sale for our home season, which will open up against Central Methodist on September the 6th. For more information, you can go to gojagsports.com or call our ticket office at 225-771-3171. Season tickets range from $90 to $228 for a season ticket, and our single game tickets will go on sale next Monday, September the 2nd. As far as this weekend, again, this is an exciting game for a lot of our players and for a lot of us to be able to play here in South Louisiana, which is home to a number of those folks, home for me in a lot of ways, and obviously a good opportunity for us to get out and see how much our returners have grown and to see a lot of new faces folded into the mix. So exciting game for all of us and for all of our fans. We're looking forward to the trip. This time we'll entertain any questions.
Was that the plan, to make it to 6 home games? That's your plan, or was it the fans talking about that? And also doing no classics this year, and the furthest game is Huntsville, Alabama?
The imperatives that I have, obviously I've got a responsibility as athletic director financial responsibility. So there's always, they're looking for opportunities to play in those guarantee games, which help us balance our budget. You try to balance that with student athlete welfare expectations, and not trying to play in either too many of those games or play in games where you're having to travel, too far away, where you play that game and then it takes too long for the players to recover. It just so happened, that we were able to get the game against ULL to kick off the season. It just so happened that we had a return end of a home and home with Northwestern State to give us another game at home. So it just sort of fell together that way. The 12-game seasons are not regular in Division I FCS. You only get them every once in a while. This is the first time that we've had them in back-to-back years ever. So the 6 home games is also a product of having that 12-game option. So just sort of fell together that way. But now that it has fallen together that way, it's a great opportunity for us to let our fans know that, more so than in recent years, there are a lot of opportunities to see the team without having to travel very far to see them.
Is Georgia still on the schedule to open up next year?
They are still on the schedule. We won't open with them, but yes, they're still on the schedule for next year.
Well, the Power 5 getting the autonomy, how does that affect Southern? Or and not only Southern but FCS schools, do you see them being able to pay above the cost of scholarship up to $5,000? Is it something that Southern can do, that anybody can do outside of the Power 5?
It's not only something that institutions like Southern University would struggle with. It's something that a substantial number of institutions in the Power 5 conferences will not be able to do very well with. When you start looking at the emergency fundraisers going on at Big 12 institutions, at ACC institutions, because of the Napier rule being passed for unlimited meals. The bottom half of the Big 5, if you drill into the numbers, that chasm is widening, not only from the very top of those Power 5 and Division I FCS institutions, but frankly the bottom half of the FBS institutions. So some of that will have to be sussed out, and the Big 5 are going to have to come up with their own idea of what their self-determination is in the NCAA. We have to chart a responsible course for ourselves and decide who we are and who we aren't, and whether or not it's responsible for institutions such as this to even consider that as a possibility, even if we had the ability. There are some Division I FCS institutions that would have the ability, for example, to pay such a stipend above the cost of full grant and aid, or to provide unlimited meals, and they're making those decisions in real time about whether or not they want to go down that route. And I think there's a responsibility that I have as athletic director here to chart our course here at Southern in the context of that wider discussion. And there's still too much gray right now. We're seeing a lot of that be worked out in real time. But there's a responsibility that we have here too to chart our own course in spite of the way that those discussions go.
Last year you guys did some streaming of home games. This year you seem to broaden that role. Tell us a little bit more about that.
We will have some more information to share actually at next week's press conference about what we'll do in terms of live streaming capability of the games, the home television schedule, or what games will be televised this year, in addition to talking about radio and live stream options online. So we'll have much more information about that actually next week as we get that solidified. I don't know if we mentioned, but this game will be on ESPN, ESPN3 as well. So.
What kind of crowd do you expect at ULS? Any idea on the pre-sale tickets? I know they're expecting y'all to have a lot over at ULL.
Coach Odums, I can guarantee we're going to bring 80. Right. That's my responsibility as athletic director is to make sure the bus gets there on time, and I know we're going to bring 80. Beyond that, it's so hard to tell. I know they've expanded their stadium, had some stadium expansion plans where they've added approximately 5,000 to 6,000 more seats. I read yesterday where the fire marshal has capped them at 42.5. I know that compared to 2009. From where they are now to 2009, they have a substantial number more season ticket holders than they did in 2009. So back in 2009, I'm sure they were much more reliant on walk-up sales and selling the tickets outside of their season tickets. This year, they have many more season ticket holders. So, it wasn't like in 2009 where it was just easy to walk up on the day of the game, and get a ticket. So, no projections on crowd. Same way I can't really project the crowd here, but. I know the interest on our end has been fairly robust and the sort of thing that folks have asked about really all summer.
We have time for one more question for Dr. Bruce.
Any word on the NCAA on when they're going to make their final ruling?
No,
Not even a time?
not at this time.
All right.
Do y'all have any tickets on that for the game Saturday?
And our allotment?
Yes.
No.
How many did you have?
We were given 1,000 for our fan day, which we sold within 45 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Broussard. Once again, we'd like to thank Dr. Broussard for sharing a portion of his time in Greek with us today. Once again, this weekend is the 2014 home opener for Southern University. They will be taking on the UL Cajuns at Cajun Field at 6 o'clock p.m. That game is not televised, but it will be a part of the ESPN3 package. We will be releasing the actual direct link to pull up that game on your laptop or smartphone devices so you can see that game live. But without further ado, I'd like to bring to the podium the head coach of the defending SWAC champions, head coach Dawson Odums.
What's up with that?
Fine Swags.
It's not practice, so you just go,
I didn't do Fine Swags TV show.
I tell you, man.
He said he talked to you last week.
You let me down today.
I'll see if I can do a quick change.
Check out Brian. You tell somebody leaving, man. Wow. They already gave you a check, huh? You spending it nicely, man.
No, I don't know about that.
Well, first of all, you know, it's 2014 again. We're here. The season has made it. It's game week, and we got an opponent that's really what I believe is one of the top football programs in the country right now. They're coming off 3 New Orleans Bowl victories. They got a very good defensive line. I mean, you want to talk about this Lafayette football team. I mean, it's just an outstanding team that's put together. Coach Hudd's done a great job. Him and his staff are putting this football team together. They built it up front. Got good offense and defensive lines. I'm telling you, Ringo, I mean, you talking about a man among boys. He's definitely as gifted as they come. Then you got Hamilton playing right beside him. And then you look at the linebacking core, Toval. I mean, you want to talk about football player. I mean, those guys probably spearheaded the defense. And then you look at their offense, man. Just jump right into it. You want to talk about a guy that's proven himself as a winner, as a great quarterback in Broadway. And then, you know, they got a good offensive line and 2 running backs, man. You want to talk about McGuire and Harris. Man, those guys are really good. Wide receiver core that's outstanding. So they put together a really good football team that's very talented. And then, you know, you have your mighty Jaguars that'll go come into town on Saturday and try to put up a great test and, you know, try to do the best they can and, you know, against a great talented football team. But I think we got a little bit of talent down here as well. And I think we come out of fall camp with a good team, a healthy football team, a young quarterback that's eager to prove himself, an offensive line that's continuing to get better, running backs, wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, and defensive linemen. So we're proud about where our football team is as we get ready to go on the road this weekend. We know it's going to be a hostile environment, probably 40,000 plus, you know, but we'll have some supporters there. And, you know, like I told our players last night, it's not about the fans. They're not on the field. It's about you having the mindset, first of all, to believe and that you can achieve the goal that's in front of you.
Coach, as far as personality of this Ragin Cajuns football team, kind of mirror your philosophy and not doing 100 things, but doing, 10 things 100 times or whatever the saying is. But is that kind of the impression that you get from them?
Yes, and just listening to them and watching them over the couple of years that since Hud's been there is that get better at the little things. Let's focus on blocking and tackling. Let's keep it simple for our guys so they can play fast. It's all about tempo, and it's hard to have tempo when you're doing a whole lot of things. So they simplify things, both offensive and defensive, and they got all their players flying around, and that's why they're having so much success.
Do you think that your offense has an advantage because being in the SWAC, we're used to seeing dual threat quarterbacks, like a Broadway kind of a style, maybe not as good as Broadway, but are you kind of looking at we might have an advantage on our defense that we faced dual threat quarterbacks before like that?
Well, I think it's a comfortable environment, knowing that you got a guy that can throw the ball and as well as run the ball. Broadway is probably one of the top quarterbacks going into the season this year, and depending on what kind of season he have, I mean, he could really be special. A dual threat guy that can really throw the ball down the field and run the ball with the best of them. Powerful, a big, strong guy. So he's gonna give us some problems. We understand that. But the good thing about it, like you said, we're seeing quarterbacks with that kind of athleticism throughout our schedule.
And like you said, their defensive line, that's where their strength is. They average over 336 pounds. They're a big defensive front. And their motto for the whole year is to go after the quarterback. Is your offensive line going to be prepped for that big challenge, that big rush?
Well, the good thing about our offensive line is we return 4 out of the 5 starters. So we have some guys that can play at that level, that's been in that competition. You know, our thing with them is just do what you've been coached to do. You know, don't worry about what the guy is, what size he is, or how he play across from you. Just do what your coach is asking you. Put yourself in the best position to make a play successful.
How do you think Deontay's going to do? This will be his first time to step on the field in live action, and he's going to do it against probably the best team y'all play this year. You expect him to be kind of wide-eyed, or will he be ready for it, you think?
Well, I think when he first run out there, he'll be like, this is why I chose Southern, to get a chance to play in this kind of environment. And he's going to have that chance to prove what kind of quarterback he's going to become. So we're excited about him being our quarterback. I think the sky's the limit for him. It'll be a culture shock probably, but it's still football. At the end of the day, when we come back off the field for warm-ups, he'll settle down and he'll get himself ready to go mentally and go out. And I think he'll perform very well. I mean, this guy has waited a year. He's sit behind one of the better signal callers in the history of Southern University. And, you know, now's his time to prove himself, and I'm excited about the opportunity for him.
How much will this offensive line be relied on when you have a young quarterback back there?
Well, I think it's going to be a lot, especially when you're talking about protecting. And it makes it easy on the quarterback when you can be able to run the football. You know, if we can just have some success running the football, I think that takes the pressure off everybody. But you got to understand, they got 3 guys up there that's hard to move. So we got to be creative in what we're trying to do and trying to establish the run. But I think whichever football team that's able to establish the run is going to have the hands up in this football game.
Is that something that you're more equipped to do this year with a veteran offensive line and the running backs that you have, you know, at your disposal, 4 or 5 backs back there?
Well, it's probably, you know, with the increase of the backs that we have back there, the talent level of those guys, you know, I think it's the best it's been since I've been here for as a unit at running back. You know, I think we can run the football. I think we got a little bit better talent back there to go along with an experienced offensive line. So we're just looking to be able to run the football and take the pressure off the quarterback. And I think in order to do that, you got to put an emphasis on the running game. And, again, whichever team is able to do that is probably going to have the upper hand in this game.
Is Ragin cleared to practice and play?
Ragin is still able to go. We're waiting on just some medical stuff with him. He's able to go. Just waiting on him to get clear 100% so he can get back into contact.
He missed a little time. You held Zach out because of the surgery. Can you just talk about having all of those people together now as you get ready to play your first game?
Well, when you look at the offensive line, you know, those guys work well together. So when you take one out, it really weakens the unit. So the chemistry is there with all those guys that played last year. So we look forward to getting those guys back out there. Zach is as healthy as he's been, and we look forward to getting Reggie Redney back whenever his return is.
But you've got some veterans on your defense, but also a couple of new guys in that secondary, but new guys that bring in a lot of talent. Are you at all anxious to see, you know, what they're capable of and, you know, them in a big game atmosphere, obviously going up against such a talented offense?
Well, I'm more anxious to see the chemistry of the team. You know, I think the individuals will have their success as long as the team is having its success. And I'm just willing to see how those guys operate within the chemistry of the unit. And I think we got some players that can help the chemistry and make some plays for us. But I'm just really looking at the overall chemistry of the football team and how we operate on the big stage.
Is this defense kind of how you want it? How you envisioned it when you came here? Tough, stop the run, get after you, react, not have to worry about it. Is it kind of evolved to where you like it and want it?
Well, it's part of their consistency. You know, it's having guys in the system. You know, it takes a while. You know, you come in your first year and you think you got pieces of the puzzle together, and then some of those guys graduate. And then the second year you get a little bit better. The third year you get a little bit better. And then all of a sudden you got everybody in this system that understand how it operates. And really that's what makes it worse. It's just having guys that are comfortable with what they're doing so they can play fast. And it goes back to doing 10 things 100 times. And I mean, from spring ball to the summer to fall camp, nothing has changed. So these guys are able to play at a fast speed.
Will you be kind of easing the offense into Short's hands? I know he's been in this program and he knows the offense and has a command, but being young and getting his first start, you try not to put too much on him too quickly?
Well, I think that's a good statement, a true statement, that you want to make sure that you bring the quarterbacks along slow so that they can have some confidence. I think as they become more confident, you're able to do more things. But we have tailored the offense to fit the guy that's back there. And we have a dual threat guy. So we tailored that offense so that he can be successful. And we simplified it so he can be successful. But it's made everybody around him successful. The good thing about the quarterback position at Southern University, you got wideouts and you got running backs. So you don't have to be the hero. Just do your job and do what you're coached to do, and everything else will take care of itself.
But you decided who's going to be the field goal kicker?
Still waiting. We got a couple more days. Just trying to decide who can kick through the uprights with the most consistency. So once we figure that out, then we'll be able to go forward. Probably won't decide till we get ready to go out there. I'll look at them in the eyes, and whichever one don't pass out, that'll be the one kick.
What were you able to learn about your team last year in the opener at Houston? The score was a little lopsided, but was there any lesson there for the team to move on, to stay focused, and the regular season was coming?
Yes, I think when we look back at the film, we had guys in position, but they might have been a step late. So going into this year, how can you get them to be a step faster? So I think it's just getting familiar with the schemes. Guys coming back in, you got veterans coming back to understand that they played 2 Division I opponents 2 years in a row. So those guys understand the kind of preparation that it takes to get ready for a team like this. So I think doing all those things and evaluating those things give you an opportunity to really see, how far you came as a program. And I'm just eager to see how far have we came as a program. I think once we get out there, we'll be able to tell real quick whether or not we belong out there on the field with them.
Having one of those type of opponents to start off the season, get guys focused there in the summer, that they can't just, go through it, and they've got, some directional school on their schedule first. They've got a Division I that they have to really step up and be focused for.
Well, exactly. They got to really, force the weight room, really get yourself prepared, and then from a mental standpoint, because that's really what the game comes down to, is mental mistakes. It's not really the physical part of the game, and it's getting our guys to understand they got to have the mindset, first of all, to believe, and then just do what you ask to do. And I think everything else will take care of itself.
In yesterday's press conference, Coach Husband talked about SWAC champions. Every time we mentioned before Southern SWAC champions, the way that the team came this summer and did the strength and conditioning. Do you see any lingering thoughts about the championship with this team from last year? Are they still thinking championship, or they've got it ahead now where 2014 is here? Because everyone else seems to be, every time they mention Southern, they mention SWAC champions.
Well, it's because everybody else dwell in the past. Everybody is remembered for what they've done in the past. As coaches and players, we're always focused on the future. And once we got finished in December with that game, came January, we were already talking about our plan for 2014. And our guys understand. We use a slogan, let the ring be motivation of the journey. Let it be a motivation of the journey, because that's where the reward came from. The reward came from the journey. You endured, you paid the price, you sacrificed, and at the end, you are able to receive a reward. Well, this year's journey going to be totally different. It's going to require some more sacrifices. It's going to require some adversity. You have to overcome it. Obstacles going to be in the way. You got to find out how to get around them. But at the end of the day, you got to have a mindset that says, we're focused on the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, and the months in 2014. We can't worry about 2013.
A lot is being made about the big crowd that'll probably be there Saturday at Cajun Field. How reassuring is it for you and your coaching staff to know that your guys won't be blown away by playing in front of a large crowd?
Well, because playing here, we get good crowds. We've been in good crowds before. We have games where we've been at 40 plus. So I think our guys understand that. The difference will be is that maybe some of the guys that are new to the program may not have played in front of that many people. And the thing is, when you go on the road, you can't get caught up in the atmosphere. You can't get caught up on the things that's going around family asking for tickets and all those things. You got to just focus and have a clear mindset to do the job, and that's what we talked about yesterday. It's really about a mindset. Nothing else really matters. You know, I tell people all the time, when David conquered Goliath, it was because of a mindset. It didn't have nothing to do with anything else. First he believed and he stepped out and executed. And that's what it's all about. And that's what we try to tell our players. You got to step out one play at a time and you got to execute. Win the play. Don't focus on nothing else. When that play's over, move on to the next one. The people that's sitting in the stands, they can't do nothing but cheer. That's what they're there for. They can't help the ball bounce your way. You know, all they can do is create a little momentum, get the adrenaline rush going. But other than that, really all they can do is sit there and watch the game. But they're coming to watch you. So you got to make sure your mindset is where it needs to be while you're playing the game.
Well, speaking of new guys, how do you feel the new group is coming along as far as transfers, freshmen, what have you?
Well, we have a process. And at the end of the day, it's about getting them guys to understand and believing in our process. You know, we welcome them to our family. We teach them what our family rules are all about. If they don't buy into it, then we have no need for you. So it makes it real clear for them. These guys have accepted the old players and the new players have bridged the gap. They made some bonds. They created some new relationships. And I'm eager to see that chemistry put on display because I think as a coach, that's what you want to see. You know, you can watch it in practice. You can see them in the cafeteria. But how are they going to be when the game's on the line? You know, when you're in that war, when you're in that foxhole. How's it going to be when you're out there on that field? What kind of communication will take place? You know, how they going to be when they come off the field just after a bad play? You know, that's what I'm eager to see as a coach because I think from those moments is how we'll be able to direct this football team going forward.
You ran into Coach Hudd, have any interaction with him? You always talk about building the program. He's had some success there now going on his fourth year. You picked his brain and met him. What's he like?
No, never met him. I know I used to have a friend in the coaching that's at the University of Texas that used to work for him at North Alabama. That's when I first heard of him because I used to talk to him all the time. He was just talking about some of the things that they were doing as a staff when I was an assistant and just talking about how they build the program and you know, how winning seems to always find them. And I said, well, it starts with having talent. You know, everywhere he's been able to recruit. And I think that's one of the reasons he's attracted as a head coach because he's going to programs where they've been down and been able to turn them around because he have a plan in recruiting. And, you know, and that's what you see. You know, when he first got to Lafayette, I mean, he was able to get players in there. And you look at the team that they got put together now, they've done an outstanding job recruiting. And now those guys are playing and they reaping the rewards of that hard work.
Any more questions for Coach Odums? Thank you, Coach. Thank you. Before we close, I have a few more announcements. Today's press conference was brought to you by the Southern University Quarterback Club. Jonathan Dearborn, president. We want to advise fans who are traveling to Cajun Field on Saturday. Please be advised to leave early, take whatever precautions necessary. We do expect a large crowd descending upon Lafayette, Louisiana, so we ask that you be safe in your travels to Lafayette and back to Baton Rouge, and we'll see you here next week for the home opener when the Jaguars host Central Methodist. All right, thank you.
Credentials, Chris?
Credentials have not been forwarded to me from UL. Sent Matt Sullivan an email. When I hear back from him as far as when that package will be, I'll be here through the weekend because the team is not leaving until Saturday. And soccer has a game Friday night at 6, so I'll be here. When I get word of when the package will be here, I'll set up a time
to get it on
for you guys to come pick them up.
That's why. Screw that. I saw you first when I saw you adjust the legs.
You don't miss going to the game?
Well, I missed. I was warming.
So you don't miss going to
oh, you have to adjust it like that. I saw this in the middle.
I just want to bring it in.
And then
Stop
so my balance is up.
You know what the supposed to be? Because it's like, you know, it's a field.
It's a
yeah.
level.
And then